freedom, free will. These are two things human beings everywhere seem to be obsessed with, and rightfully so. Who doesn't want to be free? Who doesn't want to have the choice to do whatever they want within their own power as a human being? But question, would you sacrifice your free will if you knew for 100% fact that it would drastically improve your life? Or is free will and freedom so important to you that you would sacrifice the chance at a better life just to keep it? Would you want to guarantee yourself a prosperous and happy life, but only under my control? Now, regardless how you answered, this is the question raised by Madara Uchiha. And it's a question that I want to break down and look at to find out if Madara is the unacknowledged secret hero in Naruto. Now, I've seen people give a lot of slack to Madara for this because they think it's just Pain's plan with a different last step, and I completely disagree on all fronts. That isn't true at all, and I really hate that narrative. I don't know if it's super popular, but I've seen people say it. I do think from an ideological standpoint that Pain is a stronger character than Madara. Alright, I won't argue that. But saying they have the same exact plan is like saying me becoming the next world dictator that everyone is going to fear. It's the same thing as if I gave the entire earth the blue pill. It's not. Pain's idea, cut and dry, is to oppress the entire world to a point where if we're all on the same level of being miserable, then we all, in theory, should have the same amount of empathy for one another, overall making the world a better place. While Madara's plan is a little bit more ambitious in my opinion. Madara essentially wants to play the active role of God. No more wars, no more bloodshed. And yeah, that sounds good to say out loud, but the reality of the situation is war is embedded deep within human nature. So realistically, there is no getting rid of war because you can't change humans. You can't get all 7 billion people on this planet to see eye to eye with each other, and even if you can, there are still going to be people who are super opportunistic and super greedy and always want more and always looking to take, and there are always going to be a group of people who feel like they're being mistreated, and they're going to fight, and they're going to fight for what they feel like is their right to humanity. There's only one way to really accomplish this goal of no more war and no more endless bloodshed, and that is to strip humans of their free will, which is exactly what Madara wants to do. Now, as I addressed earlier in the video, everyone wants free will. It's a thing that's literally being talked about every day on social media right now because niggas don't want to wear a fucking piece of cloth around their face, and the reality of the situation is if you don't want to do that, you can literally just stay in your house. But whatever, I digress. That's free will. Even if the best thing in most people's eyes is to protect yourself from the thing that's happening right now, you're within your civil liberties as a human to let yourself become infected and die with this virus potentially. That's because we all have freedom and free will. So the idea of Madara taking that away from not just a group of people but the entire world kind of makes him a little antagonistic, and I understand it, but it's the old classic, do the ends justify the means? And in this case, I'm willing to make a strong argument that yeah, they do. Think about all the sad backstories in Naruto, and think about how many of them are a product of violence and a product of war. Naruto lost his birth parents before he can even form a sentence and was shunned by his entire village, and not even his leader would step up for him. That was because of war and violence. Sasuke's entire bloodline was eradicated, and he was even fooled into taking the own life of the person he cared about most when he was growing up, in his brother. That is a product of war and violence and bloodshed. Obito lost one of his best friends and the person that he cared about most, and that was a product of war and violence. So many people would lead you to believe that life is the most precious thing on the planet, but it doesn't seem that way, does it? With everyone going against Madara and going against his ideas, seems like the most important thing on earth is free will, not human life. Because if you're willing to say that human life is the most important thing, that means that you should be willing to sacrifice anything other than another human life to protect it, and that includes your free will. All the giant bouts in Naruto, besides fucking Alien Eve here, were a clash of ideas, and I know that towards the end of Naruto the fights became a little unrecognizable, but this underlying theme of a clash of ideas existed from the Zabuzan Haku fight to the Neji fight to the Madara fight. And one of the first big conflicts, I guess you can call it, between ideas was Naruto and Neji, where their beliefs were sent to the forefront of the battle. Neji believed wholeheartedly that because of the circumstances he was in, that destiny is real, fate is real, and you will walk the path that was already predetermined from the second you were born. While Naruto disagreed wholeheartedly and then proceeded to spend 700 episodes walking a scripted path. And this is sort of a building block onto what Madara's ideas are. Something that makes so many characters in Naruto so good is that they're realistic, in the sense that the ideas they come up with and the ideas they form are built through their experiences through life. They weren't just sitting in a evil tower one day and were like, I think I want to turn the whole world into a group of caterpillars. Like, no, it didn't work like that. It had to be frustrating for Madara to go to war with his clan and see so many of them slaughtered, to see his own brother slaughtered on the battlefield. So he's a failure as a leader. Then to tell his clan that they should defect and that that's what he's going to do, because Uchihas will never be truly accepted by the Senju and the rest of the Leaf, and for no one to follow him because they no longer have faith in him, because, well, he just failed as a leader previously, and for him to get old and decrepit and know that he was right, and know that the Uchihas did end up getting ridiculed and basically isolated within the Leaf for years and years on end. I'm not saying that he has the biggest boo-hoo backstory in all of Naruto, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying that necessarily you need to agree with his ideas that he formed later in his life, but at bare minimum, we all should be able to understand them. There are plenty of reasons that it infuriates me that Madara was taking out the way that he was, but one big reason is I wanted Naruto and Sasuke and Madara to all have a real sit-down conversation, and it's genuinely the only time in the entire show that I wanted Talk No Jutsu to take effect. Ironically, the one time it didn't. And a big reason I feel like it didn't is because Madara probably would have been able to convince them to at least look at it his way for a second, especially Sasuke at bare minimum, who at this point his life had been completely torn apart by war and politics in the ninja world. In life, everyone's gonna have their ups and downs. We're all gonna lose people. We're all gonna have super emotional things happen to us, and the idea that you have to take shit on the chin and just turn around and smile, or you have to jump off the deep end and become literally a garbage person, is silly. Real humans don't do either one of those things, and that's Madara. Whether you agree with his ideas or not, that's what Madara is. That's who Madara is. Madara represents the common man who acquired power, who became powerful from a small child into a man. Yes, he ended up starting a war and basically became a warlord, but sometimes we all have to hit rock bottom. Sometimes we all have to lose ourselves to see if what we're searching for is really worth finding. Madara decided for himself that yes, this was the way. I am going to create a better world for everyone, and if you don't like it, fuck you, let's throw hands about it. So not caring for him, or not at least in the back of your mind thinking, how would life be if what he had dreamed of came to fruition, is crazy. Honestly, the only thing that stops Madara from being my favorite character is Sasuke, and I feel like that's because I spent so much time with Sasuke. I literally grew up with Sasuke. But had that not been the case, Madara would definitely be my favorite character. Naruto did questionable shit all the time for the things he believed in, and we definitely all see him as a good guy. Imagine if you butted heads with a person who was a leader of a country, a president or a dictator, and literally the thing you butted heads about was a terrorist, and the only grounds you had to stand on for that terrorist is, but we're friends. You'd be looked at like a madman. So if Naruto's a good guy, Madara is a good guy because he stood on the things he believed in, and he truly believed that what he was doing was for the good of the entire world, not just him. The winners get to write the history books, and the writers of the history books get to determine who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. Because he didn't win, Madara can't be the good guy of the story. But because he believed in his own ideas and believed in himself, and what he was doing was truly coming from a place of purity, he can be the good guy in his story. Hey, so yeah, I'm about to be getting busy, and I'm gonna have work stuff and like internship stuff to do, and plus I want to start working on like these longer videos because I want to make a series. So if there's like a 2-week gap between this video and the next, I apologize. Alright, I'm leaving.